everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. And this is a show where we talk about past seasons of Heartland. And we are finishing up season 8. Very exciting. Season 8, episodes 16, 17, and 18. It's a huge group of episodes. The big wedding episode. Very exciting. So I am film critic Rachel Wagner. Michelle's here.
Hey, everyone.
And Amy's here.
Good morning. Hello.
Yay. It's glad we're all back together for this finale. This is the last episode of Talking Heart, and we will do until we're finished covering the holidays. I know it seems crazy because it's just the first week of October, but we couldn't fit in another season, and so that's what we're doing, and we'll be excited to start back up again in January. So let's end it with a bang, right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, let's dive in. Episode 16 is called Faking It. And this episode, the summary, the family strives to support a devastated Georgie when Lou and Peter are forced to tell her about their separation. And Amy helps Georgie find the strength and determination she needs to deal with the terrible news while training for an upcoming trick riding competition. Meanwhile, Ty jumps to Caleb's defense when Jesse calls in Caleb's loan, effectively ruining him. So, Amy, overall, what did you think about this episode?
I think this was a good episode, a heartfelt episode of Heartland. I like it mainly because we pretty much get rid of Jesse after this episode, which is something I like. But yeah, it was a good episode, and I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. What did you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I liked it as well. I liked it, even though it's sort of a very sad sort of episode in terms of Lou and Peter. I thought Georgie's sort of journey throughout all of these episodes was very emotional, and I really think she's sort of becoming the heart of the show for me. So yeah, and again, I agree with Amy, like the less Jesse, the better.
Yeah, I mean they haven't used him all that much. We've hardly gotten him since the bar fight.
Yeah.
See, yeah, that's the thing about Jesse. He came back in almost like he was going to be like kind of a big bad character in town. And then they didn't use him a lot. And then we never see him. Well, we haven't seen him again after this season. So I don't know why they brought him back in, especially since the time we had seen Jesse before this season was like the second episode of the series. So just a little weird to me, but okay.
Well, so it starts out, you have Lou talking to Jack and Tim about the separation, and Katie overhears them. She doesn't see that she's there, and it probably would have been better to not have done this in like the main living room.
Yeah.
Smartest thing, but this is like probably Katie's biggest moment on the show so far. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, it's tough. I mean, I've been very fortunate that my parents are still together. I've been pretty untouched by divorce as far as in my life. Even none of my siblings have gotten divorced. I have a couple aunts and uncles who have, but other than that, I've been pretty lucky when it comes to that. But especially when you have kids involved, it's really tough.
Yeah, sort of the same situation myself. Like, very, very fortunate in that regard. I certainly had like friends growing up that, went between houses and, had 2 bedrooms, and it's just such a different grown up experience. And yeah, very fortunate to, our parents still be together.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same situation myself, except I feel like, actually, now that I think about it, most of my friends in my personal life their parents are not together. I think I'm the only one that still has their parents together. But other than that, I'm very fortunate in that situation. Yeah.
Mhm. And so we get this whole dinner scene where Katie says divorce. And so then Georgie gets upset and she says, "How long have they been faking it?"
Mm-mm.
And I think that, especially considering Georgie's background,
Mhm.
where she has abandonment issues, I can understand why she is upset.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's not even like fully comfortable with seeing mum and dad yet. It sort of comes and goes, and she's still very much, getting settled into this new life. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's understandable that she would feel like that's just been sort of torn away from her.
When
Mhm.
she might not understand that this whole sort of arrangement that they have is not
Mhm.
functional,
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
that him being in Vancouver and just that conflict. And I feel like they've hid that fairly well from Georgie.
yeah.
Mhm.
And you get a really nice scene between Jack and Georgie in
Ugh,
here.
that's so sad.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. And then Lou and Peter, they say, "Are we doing the right thing?" And Peter says, "Well, we don't." They say, "We don't have to pretend anymore." And Peter says, "Georgie's resilient. She'll get through it, and so will we."
Yeah.
Do you think
Mhm.
that Lou and Peter are handling this pretty well, considering?
I mean, I think this is probably the best they've gotten along in episodes, like,
Yeah.
which is, not a great sign.
Yeah.
I do like that they are united in terms of like the kid. But yeah, it is, a bit stark that, this is the best I've seen them get along all season.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
ironic, right? Once it's
Yeah.
they're finally separated.
Yeah.
Mhm. You also have Georgie with this tryout, worrying about this tryout, and Olivia is a handful as always, but she's getting private lessons, and and when she finds out about the separation, she says guilt turns them into real weirdos. I just thought you'd like to know.
Yeah. Good to see Olivia in like kind of a better light in this episode, but it doesn't last. So.
No,
No, it doesn't. 'Cause she
I
does
thought we were,
great
I thought we
at
were like
practice.
turning a corner.
Yeah. I mean, she's man, I mean, I know that kids can be really mean. I certainly had my experiences being bullied and things like that, but man, I mean, it's just you feel exhausted just her keeping this up so long. You think eventually she'd kind of
So tired.
let it go.
It's almost like Olivia gets a little bit of joy out of making fun of Georgie, which is so awful. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. It seems like she doesn't have any control in her life, and so it's like the one thing that she can control
Yeah.
is like making
Yeah.
Georgie feel bad.
Yeah.
And there's always those people that you try to not let them get to you, but somehow they still get to you.
Hmm.
It's just like, stay away from me because I know you're going to hurt my feelings by the end of this. But, that's a dynamic. And then you have Ty and Amy being pretty cozy in that in that little trailer bed. I mean, I guess they're engaged now, so.
Hmm.
Um, and Ty is worried about Caleb because they have these 50K horses. And I guess the thing is that can't they just sell the horses? Like, and then he can pay Jesse back?
I don't understand the business deal between him and Jesse. Like, I
Yeah.
was so confused. Like, him and Ty was confusing enough, but it was pretty, simple as it was just between the two of them. But you could sort of, figure it out, read between the lines, but I really don't understand the business deal. I don't understand what the business is with him and Jesse. I thought they were just sort of buying horses, training them and reselling them. Maybe that is still what they're doing, but it's so confusing in this episode.
See, that's what I was wondering, is thinking maybe that because he's housing these horses at Fairfield, right? Fairfield is Jesse's, right? Yeah. At Fairfield. So I'm thinking maybe not only does he need to now pay for these prices of these horses from the loan, but also has to pay all the back pay for, the housing, the food, the transportation, whatever else that these horses have accrued this time also at Fairfield. And I think that might be what Caleb's like, the money more than just selling the horse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it seems like he's just sort of getting Caleb to sort of dig himself in as deep as possible, because he obviously knows that, he's sort of running around with Cassandra. He sort of knows all of these things. So I guess that I just sort of assumed that he was just letting Caleb dig himself in deeper, as that he couldn't get out.
Yeah.
And so we also have Tim getting pretty jealous of Casey because he sees Love Reggie on her phone. And, yeah, I mean, Tim's been on a pretty good streak recently. We haven't been complaining that much about him. And if I'm going to see him being petty and whatever, like, this is the way to do it. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And it turns out it's not a boyfriend, Reggie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm such a big fan of Casey. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like any other sort of relationship he's had, this would be like a big deal and it would go episodes and, he'd sort of freak out and it just feels like it would escalate to the point where it doesn't really happen here. Like, she sort of understands him in a way that we haven't really seen before. And she also just doesn't put up with it from him as well. It's just sort of nice to see. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Casey.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't a big fan of Tim being ridiculous with Peter and Peter finally saying, like, do you think this is easy? Trying to do the right thing. And the thing is I guess I don't really understand, because didn't Tim and Marion get divorced?
Yep.
Yeah.
Georgie's like, you couldn't understand, to Amy, and I'm like, yes, her parents got divorced. Why couldn't you understand?
Yeah. And like, Tim wasn't even around after the divorce.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Peter's at least putting the kids, at the forefront. But it just feels like if Tim isn't harassing Peter, he's harassing Ty. Like, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
I do think though, because Amy was more like Katie's age when Tim and Marianne got divorced. It was actually Lou who was around Georgie's age when they got divorced. So I would think Lou would be able to, connect with Georgie on that, because they are such similar age as when her parents got divorced.
Amy says you can't control what's going to happen, but you can control how you react to it. And so I don't know, I was just kind of like, what? Like, I would think that she would be a really good person to talk to, that had to deal with a lot of conflict with her parents. And like you said, Lou as well. And so that was, I thought, a little strange. And, but then we also have Amy. We find out that she has her dress, and Mrs. Bell is making it. And so that's kind of cute. That's fun. and then she and Georgie talk about it, and Georgie's gonna quit, but Amy agrees to teach her a new trick. And she's really, really nervous. Olivia is really nervous. They've got this tryout, and it was cute to see like everybody there supporting Georgie.
Yeah.
And then Georgie does the new trick, and she gets on the extreme team.
Woohoo!
definitely.
And the pink, she's wearing the pink and everything.
Mhm.
And then we have Jesse and Ty getting in a big fight because Jesse's egging him on, and
Mhm.
he's there surveying the land because he's going to take their land. And his like goal is to own all of the land, even in Heartland.
Yeah, because
And I
I
guess,
think, was it the next episode that he was talking to Val, or this
yeah,
episode?
next episode.
Yeah, but
When
like that's gonna happen.
Well, and he's all like, my sister and my mom are idiots, and he's really rude.
Like Val built a business up that she could like live off of for the rest of her life, and is
Mhm.
so secure that she passes it on to him. So yeah, I think he's a bit wrong on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's too bad because he's such a good-looking kid, and that they made him such a jerk.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a shame. But then you have Peter leaving at the end of the episode, and that kind of closes it out. So yeah, what would you give this episode, Amy, 1 to 10?
7. Good episode, solid.
What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I would say the same, 7.
All right, I agree. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right. So next episode is called All I Need Is You. And in this episode, Lou spearheads preparations for the big day while Amy throws herself into gentling a rescue horse in order to avoid all the wedding craziness. But Amy and Ty's happy future is jeopardized when Ty is unexpectedly arrested for assault. Meanwhile, Georgie observes an intimate moment between Lou and Peter and nurtures hope that they are getting back together. And Tim risks telling Casey how he feels about her and then obsesses about her response. So overall, Amy, what did you think of this one?
So this, I really like this episode mainly because of the Amy and Ty stuff. It actually is one of my favorite. I kind of always wished that they would run away to get married.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really enjoy this episode for that reason.
What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I agree. I will be honest, I did sort of groan at the beginning because one of my least favorite things in TV is when they do the little intro, then they go like 15 hours earlier or like 3 days before, and I'm like, oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
God, I hate that so much. It feels like so many shows do it. And yeah, it was a bit unexpected from Heartland, but yeah, I agree. Like the Amy and Ty stuff is so good in this episode. Even though they don't go through with it, it's like you do get that little bit of fan fulfillment that you do get to see them kind of run away.
Yeah. I'm surprised that they didn't go through with it because
Mhm.
you could still have the wedding, the public wedding, and have like your private moment. Like you could
Yeah.
do both.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I don't see what's especially like selfish about having a private wedding and then having a public wedding. Like I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, a lot of people sort of have multiple weddings if they
Mhm.
like, can't be with family members or, come from different countries or, there's a lot of different ways.
Mhm. I mean, Lou thinks it's very selfish. She
Of
is
course she
very
does.
upset. But I understand. I can sympathize with Amy, because I think I would get super stressed out about all that wedding planning stuff.
Mm.
I don't think I
Yeah.
would handle it well. And there's so much stuff that seemingly really doesn't matter, but it's like if you are going to do it, you kind of have to do it. Like if you're going to have a wedding, then yeah, you need to figure out all these details.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, but you're right. It does start out with you see them getting married, or it seems like they're getting married in secret, and then it says 3 days later or whatever. Okay. So Lisa, and I think it's made even more by Lisa and Lou kind of teaming up
Yeah.
to plan the wedding.
They're sort of great when they're united on something, but yeah, it does. I think those two just bounce off each other so well. But yeah, it
Mhm.
was fun to see them both sort of, arguing over, you know, wedding details and Amy just not wanting to be involved whatsoever. But I agree, like, if you're going to do it, just like, go through the motions and pick things and do it. If it's not that important to you, then it shouldn't be that hard to pick one thing or the other.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, she is like probably the least involved bride I've ever seen on TV. She's just like, oh, don't care.
But like a lot of times when she does pick something, then they're like, "Wait, you didn't give it enough thought." Like she's like, "No, I know what I like."
Yeah, yeah, she can win.
But we also have Jack's horse Painter getting old, and
Yeah,
that was sad.
yeah,
Oh, so I guess once they reach a certain age, they just kind of are out on
retire.
the pasture.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
won't ride him
Um,
anymore.
yeah, I don't know how long he's been riding Old Paint, but it seems like um in the next episode as well, like he's suffering from arthritis, and I do like that Jack is, emotional but very sort of straightforward, and like if he's too old, I'll stop riding him. Like there's no like forcing the issue, or trying to sort of do all these different surgeries, or you know he's sort of ready to just sort of let the horse go and retire. But I did
Mhm.
actually think when they sort of bring in this other horse that Amy brings in, I honestly thought by the end of the season, you know, Jack would be riding that horse. Um,
Mhm.
just seemed kind of strange that, but I guess that was kind of more Georgie's storyline. I just assumed that they would be sort of interweaving.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the name of that horse that Amy brings in? I can't remember. But yeah, I thought
I don't think it
the
has a name. Georgie names it in the next episode.
mm, well, and then there's also that wild horse that's the
Hmm.
rescue horse.
Yeah, yeah,
And that again, I don't know how they do that, how they make those horses act like that. It always amazes me. I would
yeah,
love to talk to somebody that is a horse trainer or whatever for Heartland because I'm
yeah,
so curious about
yeah.
how do they
I'm
make
sure
like
there's
the
like, I'm sure there's somebody on Heartland that you could talk to. Like, they must have like either like a team of people or just like multiple people have worked on this show for years, because they have to obviously build up trust with these horses and work with them really intimately.
mm. And so we also have this whole thing with Tim and Casey. Tim says, I love you. And she says, back.
Yeah, that's so
I feel like
funny.
this
Like
is
she's
such
like,
a trope of television
yeah,
shows.
uh-huh,
To
yeah,
have you didn't say it right, or you didn't respond, and I said it first, and now it's
yeah,
awkward. I don't know. I feel like every couple has this episode.
yeah, yeah. And like Tim is like the worst person to do it with. He's just gonna over like obsess about it and like be a total child about it.
And it's like, did she just not hear him? Because then later on,
I think she
she
doesn't
kind
hear
of
him.
yeah, she kind of acts like, but then she did vocally respond.
I
So
think
it's
she was
like, what is
dozing off
happening?
or like falling asleep and then sort of jolted awake, and I was like, okay, she's not falling asleep. But yeah, she does say like later on that she didn't hear him, but yeah, I don't buy it.
Yeah, that was weird. So we lost Amy. She's saying here. She, I guess, got called away with some family thing or something.
Oh,
Yeah, I I think that like if Tim's actually going to be vulnerable, then you need to like respond or it's going to be bad. He's not going to handle it
yeah.
well.
No, no. Emotional stuff he doesn't handle well.
Hmm. Yeah. And so then the Ty ends up getting arrested and Jack gets him from jail. And of course, Jack is very upset about it, upset
Mhm.
about what he did. And then you have Ty, he could go to jail for 2 years over the whole thing.
Mhm.
And I mean, the one thing about it is that, like, I feel like he has obvious scars and stuff like that. So I feel like it would make the assault different, like I feel like that would be an obvious defense that like I was assaulted as well,
Yeah, yeah.
it
I guess
wasn't just
because
me beating up on him.
he did like throw the first punch, and the two witnesses would obviously be on Jesse's payroll. So yeah, I guess
Hmm.
that when you add
The
them
two
up, that does,
witnesses.
yeah, that sort of goes
Hmm.
against them. But it is more like, I feel like if Ty didn't start it, then Jesse would have sort of been bubbling along for a while between the two of
Hmm.
them.
And Ty says, well, maybe I haven't changed at all. And he says, uh, the I think it's Jack, he says that so then Jack says, I don't judge a man for his mistakes, but what he does to repair those mistakes. And
Hmm.
he's talking to um, Peter as well. And because Peter's back, sometimes you're the bad cop, Lou, that Lou feels like she makes everyone miserable. I mean, she does kind of make everybody miserable. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think
she's very controlling.
yeah, that is just her like personality of having to be in control,
Hmm.
and that's not a fun place to be. She is just sort of that personality of,
Hmm.
if things are going to get done, she's the one to do it, and if she's has to be the bad
Hmm.
guy, then she's going to be the bad guy. And I don't think there's any other way for Lou to be. That is just her personality. Um, but yeah, I think it was a little unfair of her just to like be labeled as a bad cop,
Hmm. Yeah, and
especially with the kid.
and then they kiss, Peter and Lou, and that felt so awkward to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess they're sort of trying to say like they have a level of sort of comfort, and it's going to take them a while to sort of separate. And they haven't actually said that they're getting divorced yet. I think it's just a separation at this point.
Yeah, only
Um,
Katie.
yeah. Well, Katie's divorced. Katie's ahead of everybody. Um, yeah, I do like that they have sort of that moment of like, they are that comfortable with each other, and they are still living in close quarters, and it's just unfortunate that Georgie sort of sees it and takes it the wrong way.
Hmm. Yeah. And then Amy says, well, I'll work at Briar Ridge if Jesse drops the charges. But
Hmm.
Jesse says, I'm reclaiming my birthright. And he says, you could have married me instead of Ty. I'm like, what?
What? We haven't seen you for like 7 years.
Like
Oh,
they haven't even
crazy.
dated or anything. It's not like it's a
No,
past relationship. Like
no. They
what's his
dated when they were
name?
like 15 for like a
Yeah,
couple of months.
like I mean you could make a better case for Terrence Coombe guy. I can't think of his
Yeah,
name.
Chase.
Chase. Yeah, like it would have at least there's some relationship there. This
Yeah,
is there's nothing and I'm
yeah,
reclaiming my birthright.
yeah. This whole like land deal thing between him, Val, and his dad is so. I could not figure it out. Like I like totally zoned out when they were talking about like the deal that his dad had and like the housing, and I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
So he just wants to buy Heartland. He just wants to, because I guess like, because I'd had sort of forgotten that Val gave that land to Caleb as like a wedding gift.
Mhm.
And I guess he just wants to reclaim all of his family's old land. That's all I sort of
Yeah.
gleaned from it.
So evidently his dad took out liens on people and then got the property for super super cheap.
Okay.
And this is what his plan is to do again. And he's going to try to get back the land from Caleb and then also part of Heartland. Which I don't know, it was really convoluted.
Yeah, it felt like there was no build up to this, and so it didn't really land.
Mhm.
And there was also just a lot of plots happening in this episode. I feel like they sort of took Jesse as sort of an antagonist and then to a villain really quickly. Like it felt like it was really escalated and didn't really parcel it out sort of well in terms of these last few episodes. It just felt really sudden and the ending felt kind of strange.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. But Jack and Val meet and basically Jack says like figure this out, make this right.
Hmm.
And we haven't seen Val for quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a while
Yeah.
since Jack and Lisa's wedding, I think.
Was she there at Jack and Lisa's
Yeah,
wedding?
not the wedding, I think. Was she at the wedding? She was
No.
definitely had.
I-
Yeah, she had a conversation with Jack when they found out that he was engaged.
Oh, she did? I forgot
Yeah.
about that, I guess. I was thinking we hadn't seen her this whole season.
Oh no, you weren't on that episode. That's what it was. We didn't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
Okay.
we
Yeah.
talked about that, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't me. No.
If I'm not covering it, it's gone. Uh, and so then Jesse and Val have a talk, and she's like, "You're a child.
Yeah,
You think you know what
yeah,
you're doing, but
I love how she
you
like
don't."
ordered him milk, and he's like, "Why have you got me milk? I haven't ordered that since I was 12." And she was like, "Well, if you're behaving like you're 12."
Yeah. And so then the charges are dropped soon after this conversation,
Yeah, I like that
which is
she
good.
sort of says that she will take control back because I assumed that she had given everything to Jesse.
Hmm.
But I guess she's just given him like the day-to-day running of the place, but she calls the shots.
Yeah. And so then Ty says, well, we should postpone the wedding. But once the charges are dropped, he says, let's get married right now. So that's where we get our little flashback at the beginning.
Yeah, they go
Hmm.
to Pike River.
Yeah. And then we also have Peter and Lou talking to Georgie. She pretends that she's like cool with it and understands, but then she lets the wild horse out and she's like yelling at it.
Hmm.
So that's kind of our big ending. So what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I was gonna give it an 8, but I do think um the sort of stuff with Jesse is sort of rushed and was frustrating. So I would say like 7.5. We'll go
Mhm.
7.5.
I think I agree. I think that's good. Okay. So then we have written in stone, and it's just all the summary we have for this is in order to give Amy and Ty the wedding they really want, Lou struggles to deal with a slew of last minute hurdles.
Okay.
So overall, what did you think of this episode?
I love the wedding. I love the sort of result of the wedding. There was a few things that I did find a little bit frustrating. Namely sort of bringing people back that they haven't seen in such a long time and not giving them any sort of lines or anything.
Mhm.
So gutted that we didn't get like a single scene of Amy and Soraya.
Didn't we get one where they're hugging at least?
I didn't see it. Maybe we did.
Mm.
I just sort of saw her sitting during the wedding.
Mhm.
But yeah, I did like the wedding. I think that's sort of the start of this episode.
Yeah, it's a really fun wedding. I enjoyed seeing everybody back. It would have been nice to have seen Mallory back. They just mentioned that, oh, there's a
Yeah,
letter from
yeah.
Mallory.
I
That
thought it
would
was
have been
strange
nice to have her.
We didn't see Ty's parents either after seeing his mum
Oh,
and his
yeah.
stepdad. After,
Hmm.
the drama of the last, few episodes that we had.
Yeah, you think you'd at least have Wade there.
Yeah.
And Amy says, woohoo, Ty doesn't go to jail. Love the wedding. So glad Amy and Ty were able to figure it out in a way that worked for them. Soraya, glad she came back for the wedding. The dress is not my favorite. The wedding episode is a 10 for me. I wish they would have gotten married, the two of them at the chapel up there, though, because that place has such a meaning for their relationship. And then we have, it starts out with Jack and Tim confronting Ty and Amy and saying, y'all are being selfish and everything like that, which is also strange considering the fact that Jack didn't allow anybody to come to his wedding.
Yeah, yeah.
But they say, oh, we didn't actually get married. So
Yeah.
pixies, I guess, on that.
Yeah.
But I still think they could have done both.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could have done sort of the private legal thing on their own and then just had like a celebration because, they could have still, had their sort of personal vows at the celebration as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. I guess it is sort of a
Like I'm
TV thing.
feel like I'm just about to sneeze.
Oh
So Peter talks to Georgie and she says, watching people promising to be together forever makes me sick. She says, I
Oh,
could go live with Jeff. And Peter says, your mom you could really use the support. And I think that Peter and Georgie has always been the best Peter dynamic.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's had
Yeah.
like a few moments with Jack that I've liked
Uh-huh.
when he was sort of on the the ranch, sort of working there and that being
Yeah.
sort of more of his home base. But yeah, like him and Georgie are so good together.
Hmm. I just wish that they had just kept him being like stay-at-home dad. I think that could have been like a really interesting sort of
Hmm.
plot and have Lou working and where she would be happiest working.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I guess it probably has more to do with what Gabriel Hogan wanted to do, or if he wanted to be off the show, or who knows.
Yeah, I
I'm
know
sure
he's
there's
like,
backstory going on, but that was
yeah.
such a good spot for him
Hmm.
and for Lou as well.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I really wish they'd, just built their own home on Heartland and they'd just gone forward with that
Yeah.
storyline. I do
Hmm.
know that he is a series regular on another show, but I'm not sure when that started.
Hmm.
Because I do think he just goes back and forth.
So Amy says that she wants to get married at Heartland because the venue fell through. They were
Hmm.
going to use, and so Lou is trying to make this work, and they get the wedding dress. What did you think of the wedding dress?
I didn't mind the wedding dress. Like, I'm not a dress person, so I can't really judge. I
Hmm.
do know that it is. I did read one of the little recaps, and it said that that is Amber Marshall's real wedding dress. Um,
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So yeah, she just wore her own wedding dress on the show. Yeah, I didn't. I thought it was and it was believable that Mrs. Bell had made it. It was sort of very simple. It wasn't, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, I I thought it was fine. It was pretty simple,
Yeah,
but
it sort of
I
fit
do
Amy.
agree that I think it's believable that Mrs. Bell could actually have made that and also used her mom's dress.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like Amy is sort of a girl of simple needs. So yeah, it made sense that she didn't go with something like super extravagant.
Hmm. It had like a lot of like tulle and stuff, like kind of puffy that
Yeah.
I probably wasn't, I would have made thinner. But other than that, I thought it was fine. It was very simple. But and all the men looked handsome in their suits.
I mean, I wish
Yeah.
Ty had worn the blue just for the comedy.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But they all looked handsome. So
Mhm.
that's it was good. And then Lou and Georgie and their purple was nice.
Mhm. Yeah.
You didn't really see a lot of blue and yellow.
Oh yeah, that was meant to be her colours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like everything. Like no wonder Lou is like so stressed out. Like Amy has thrown so many curveballs during this wedding of like changing venues and
hmm Well, and then
deciding
like the
not to do it.
cake ends up melting.
Yeah, Ty didn't order his suit until like the day before. Like
But you have
everything just
Jack and Peter putting up lights
yeah.
and,
I did
and
like Jack's line of like we should just leave these up all the time. The amount of time they have to like put them up and take them down.
Mhm. They should. They look cute.
Yeah.
And then Tim and Peter fight. And again, I don't really understand where Tim is at with this when he also is divorced. Like you think he would be sympathetic.
Yeah, and I do think there is a line from Peter that says, at least he's not going to be like an absentee dad, and that was sort of directed at Tim. And he's
hmm
right, like, Tim was in a really bad place, and wasn't a part of his kid's life, and I feel like maybe that's sort of his issue of like seeing, you know, a little bit of, Ty and a little bit of Peter whenever there's sort of a bad decision or a bad sort of thing happens. It's sort of like a mirror being holding up to him. He maybe feels like he wants better for his daughters and he doesn't want these guys making the same mistake that he made.
hmm
But it just comes across in such a bratty way that it's hard to sort of get that from it. You sort of have to go through a bunch of, you
Well, he's
have
so
to jump through a few
confrontational
hoops.
about it.
Yeah, yeah, he's so aggressive and like, you know, like he hasn't made worse, decisions in his life.
hmm The one thing I didn't like about the dress, I forgot, was the back, the lacing up in the back.
Hmm.
I didn't really like that. That wasn't my favorite. But but anyway, Georgie first she doesn't want to be in the wedding, and then she talks to Peter and she talks to everybody, and she says to Amy, "Could I be your bridesmaid if you want me to?" And then
Hmm.
Amy says, "I'm here to listen, here to support." That was a sweet moment between them.
Yeah, yeah. It was a little strange that those scenes were edited so close together
Mm-hmm.
because she like she doesn't want
I
to be
guess
a
she
good
had the
bridesmaid. There's like one scene and then the next scene she's like, "I'll be your bridesmaid." I'm like,
yeah,
because I was literally writing down notes as it was happening. It was like,
right.
Georgie doesn't want to be a bridesmaid, and then the next scene was like her changing her mind. I'm like, "I'll delete."
Yeah. Well, then we also get her naming the horse, the wild horse, naming him Trouble,
Yeah,
which seems accurate.
yeah, very much so.
That's good. Um, and we get this whole thing with Caleb and Ty where they get the wrong tuxedo, and that was funny. He gets
Yeah,
this
yeah,
blue fluffy tuxedo.
yeah. I really wish I'd just worn that.
Yeah, that
Um,
would have been funny.
I really don't think Amy would have cared.
No, I don't think so. But it was funny, and so there's sort of the wild race to the get the right tuxedo, and then we get Jack and Painter go on one more ride. We ready to take one more ride with me? That was sweet.
Yeah, so yeah, really sweet scene. I think that's the only horse we've actually seen him on, throughout the
hmm
series.
I haven't kept track, to be honest, but I believe it.
I'm just assuming so.
Yeah.
It looks familiar.
And Amy, her big thing that she had said is that she wanted to be led up the aisle on a horse on
Hmm.
Spartan,
Yeah,
and she gets her wish.
yeah, and Sugarfoot's there as well, sort of leading the way.
Oh yeah. hmm And you get Katie as the flower girl, and then Lou and Georgie as the bridesmaids, and the whole Heartland ranch is all lit up and beautiful,
Hmm.
and uh, the this is your partner. The vows your husband, partner in life, and one true love. And I
Yeah,
carry your heart. I carried it in my heart always and forever. That was very cute.
it was very cute. I do think they did sort of manage to do that without it being like too cheesy. Like
Hmm.
especially when they started saying the vows together. I was
Hmm.
like, oh god, like it feels very sort of scripted and very strange. Especially when neither of them have been very involved in like planning weddings and stuff. I guess that was like the one thing they like committed to getting right. But I
Well, and
think they pulled it off.
if there's ever a time to lean into the cheese, then a wedding is the
Yeah,
part
yeah,
to do
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Like
And like
it's
a winter wedding at Heartland is always like super special.
mhm. Yeah, you just want to be like, oh, look how fun. And yeah, Soraya is there. And yeah, I thought it was really cute that they had like this little like family dance with Lou,
Yeah,
Peter, Georgie, and Katie. It was cute.
yeah. Like I said, they are definitely getting along a lot better now than when they were like
Hmm.
officially like a couple.
Well, and
Um,
it's better too because it's like a more interesting conflict
yeah,
than why are you in Vancouver, like over
yeah,
and over and over again.
they're not wasting energy trying to force something that clearly wasn't working.
Hmm.
Now they're sort of united on like the kids, which is taking a lot of the angst out of their scenes together.
Hmm. Yeah, and then there's a nice scene between Val and Caleb where they're dancing, and basically she says, I misjudged you when you were my son-in-law. I should have been more supportive." And she agrees to cover the loan because that's not the way the Stans do business.
Hmm. All of this
So
was really sweet until like the last scene the last line where she says like Ashley has never been as happy as she was with you. I thought that was such a strange line of like, is Ashley unhappy now? Like, what's going
and
on
she
with
was
Ashley?
getting married to someone else, right?
Yeah, yeah, she was getting
I
married to someone
guess.
else. I guess Val isn't a fan of the new guy.
I guess not. Yeah, that's what she says. She says, I was wrong. Ashley's never been as happy as she was with you. So I guess so. Uh, and we get a little bit of talk between Georgie and Jeff,
Hmm.
and she's not gonna stay there, go with him. Um, but then Ty picks a stone on the mantle, and that was cute. Their little
Yeah,
tradition.
yeah. Did Peter ever get a stone?
Can't remember. It
I
seems
don't
like he
think he
must
did.
have.
I don't think he did. I don't think we saw it.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, maybe need to ask Amy.
I can't remember. I mean, I think though with Ty basically like growing up there,
Hmm.
there's all the more reason. But yeah, that does seem a little because Katie got one,
Yeah.
a stone. I don't know. If you are listening and you remember that he got one,
Let
let
him
us
know.
know. And then Ty and Amy, they were going to go to the Dude Ranch, but it's locked. And so they end up staying at the in the loft, which was very cute. And she says,
Yeah.
I guess I fell in love with the boy in the loft. It was really
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah. It's perfect ending. It was like so many things that were just so perfectly like Ty and Amy. Like they absolutely would have just preferred to stay in the loft than the Dude Ranch.
There's simple people.
Mhm.
And then we have Lisa giving them ticket to France, which was cute. And then you see Georgie with the wild horse at the end with trouble.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good way, I think, to end out this season. And I feel like it's a really good spot for us to kind of end our coverage for the year,
Mhm.
like with the big wedding.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
That is
And
one of the
there's
things I appreciate about Heartland is like they have their big sort of cliffhanger in the middle.
yeah,
And then the finale is sort of all wrapped up like very nicely.
that's true. That's true. Well, what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
9.5.
Yeah, I agree, or even maybe even a 10. I mean, the weddings are just so good.
Hmm.
And I really liked kind of the way they ended. Like Lou and Peter with them dancing the family dance. That was so cute, I thought.
Yeah.
And because you're always, especially when you have kids, like you're always going to be tied together, and whether
Mhm.
you're actually married or not. All right. Well, we did it. We finished season 8. Are
Yeah.
you so proud?
I'm so proud. Like, how many? I think we've watched 4 seasons of Heartland this year. 4 or 5.
Yeah, I've lost track, but it's something like
That's a
that.
lot of episodes.
And hopefully you all have enjoyed listening to the recaps. We'll be back
Yeah.
in January, and let us know your thoughts about these episodes in the comments. We always love, we have such great commenters
Mhm.
on the Heartland episodes, and I will miss that. I really will, but we'll definitely have Michelle back for at least one Christmas recap. So don't wait around. We will definitely be back together podcasting, and we'll have lots of Amy as well coming up, and it's going to be a wild season, holiday season to cover.
Yeah,
But we're
overwhelmed
excited.
already.
Yeah. Lifetime announced that they're going to have a movie every single day for a month.
Oh my god.
So it'll be intense, but we're excited. And Michelle, how can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please take a look at that. Doing Disney Scares Month all month over on my channel. So it's a lot of fun. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We'd really appreciate it. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our merch store, which has Ty and Amy inspired Heartland merch. So check that out. And then we also have our patron group, which we really appreciate the patrons and their support. And we have watch alongs and other really fun stuff. So take a look at that. And thanks so much. It's been so great, Michelle. I really have looked forward to it every Saturday. So thanks so much for doing this. And we'll be back in January. Bye,
See you on
everyone.
camera. Bye.